Plaza Hotel, Oslo, Norway. A young woman calling herself Jennifer Fairgate is found dead in a room of a five-star luxury hotel. Fake name, no ID. A year later, she is buried in an unmarked grave in Oslo. The burial is simple: no family, no friends, no priest, no singing, no prayers. Only Jennifer, her simple wooden coffin, and four pallbearers. The following story is based on crime scene findings, police reports, and investigation done by reporter Lars Christian Wegner. Welcome to the very first true crime episode on Hades Corner. Uh, my very first true crime episode is way long overdue, as I really like the true crime genre, and I've been wanting to make an episode myself. But now here it is. There are many, I mean, really many cases to uh, pick from for an episode. There are dozens, perhaps hundreds of cases to pick from for a true crime episode. However, uh, choosing the topic, or rather the case, for this very first video was fairly easy because this case is so enigmatic and actually somewhat famous, at least in the Nordic countries and the true crime scene. Now, this is the case of Jennifer Fairgate, or Fairgate, also known as the Plaza Woman, as the events of this case take place in the Oslo Plaza Hotel in Oslo, Norway, in the summer of 1995. Jennifer Fairgate claimed to be a 21-year-old woman from a small Belgian town called Verlaine, and that she'll stay at the hotel with a man named Louis Fairgate, and that her employer is a Belgian company, Service. Needless to say, none of that was real or correct. More about that later on. Uh, there are some discrepancies in spelling her name, her last name, because when booking the hotel, her last name was written as Fairgate, but she wrote it down as Fairgate twice in the hotel paperwork, once in the check-in passenger card, and then once in the room service receipt when she ordered food from the hotel room service. Now, the Norwegian newspaper VG has published an extensive article written by Lars Christian Wegner on this topic, and made a 30-minute documentary like video of investigative journalism, and these have been my biggest influences and significant source of information. I have also used other sources available publicly online. The Radisson Blue Plaza Hotel Oslo, or locally known as Oslo Plaza, is a highly prestigious hotel in downtown Oslo, the charming capital of Norway. It was at the time the highest building in Norway and Oslo, with 37 floors and 117 meters, or 384 feet tall. It was officially opened in 1990 by the late King Olav V of Norway. The plaza was a five-star luxury hotel and has been the go-to place of accommodation for heads of state, kings and queens, international stars, high-level politicians, and rock stars. Um, just an example of what kind of visitors the Oslo Plaza Hotel would expect to see, and this sets the scene for the events of this case. The hotel is situated in the center of Oslo, just a 5-minute walk from the central railway station. I made efforts to contact both the reporter Lars Christian Wegner at VG and the Oslo Police Department, but I'll come back to that later on in this video. So, based on what I could find, the victim, Jennifer Fairgate, called the Oslo Plaza on May 22nd, 1995, to inquire the availability of rooms on coming weeks and make a reservation for herself. I'm going to call her Jennifer Fairgate, as this is the most common spelling I've seen in sources. So, the room Jennifer stayed in for 3 nights was really expensive, approximately 350 US dollars per night in today's money. So we are talking about a decent amount of money. In this call, according to what was gathered from the employee who took the reservation, Jennifer spoke English without a noticeable accent. It's not known when she initially planned to arrive, but on Wednesday, 31st of May, she called in to inform the hotel that she'll be checking in that very evening with another person, Lois Fairgate. After this call, the housekeeping was informed of a second guest in that room, and an extra duvet was added to the room by housekeeping to accommodate for the second guest. In this call, she spoke German, but according to the staff, she had no noticeable accent or dialect. Some sources say she may have spoken an Eastern dialect of German, but this isn't mentioned in reputable sources like the investigation of the VG, the Norwegian newspaper, who worked with in cooperation with the Oslo Police Department. At the front desk, Jennifer Fairgate is given the standard passenger information card to fill in with certain things already filled in from the booking. The pre-filled information includes names, a number of guests, and the arrival and departure dates. To be filled in were contact details, passport number, and issuing authority and credit card number. Jennifer did provide a date of birth, a Belgian address, and a Belgian phone number, but she did not include a credit card number or any form of identification, i.e., a passport. So neither Jennifer nor Lois Fairgate provided, they didn't provide any identification or any kind of payment, even though the strict hotel policy was getting these things at check-in, no exceptions. So Jennifer checks into what is described as the best hotel in Norway without a passport or credit card. So coincidence? I think not. She signs in the check-in card, spelling her last name as Fairgate, and I'll use Fairgate because it's available most often in sources online. Now let's set the timeline. The times given for when the room door is opened or when the key card is used to enter the room, because the system doesn't, or at least didn't back in 1995, leave a mark in the lock when the door is opened from the inside. There's a graphic representation of the timeline in English, in the English translation of the VG article, which I'll link in the description box below. The time when the key cards
were used are from the log printouts provided by the hotel to the police in 1995. Jennifer Fairgate, or the woman presumed to be Jennifer Fairgate, called the hotel on May 22nd, 95 to book the room. She spoke English. It's unclear which dates were the original dates, but she arrived, as mentioned before, she arrived on May 31st with another person said to be Lois Fairgate in the booking. She would said she would be staying until Friday, June 2nd. She spoke German with no noticeable accent. And when she called on Wednesday, 31st, to add another guest, Lois Fairgate, she spoke German, and the first call, she spoke English. So, Wednesday, the day of arrival. She checked in at the plaza on Wednesday, May 31st at 10:40 p.m., which was a very busy time of day because the last three flights of the day had just landed at the Oslo International Airport, and hence the check-in was very busy and the lobby was full, and there were also police officers in strike at the airport's passport control, so that also caused an extra burst of rush hour at the Plaza Hotel lobby. Uh, Jennifer Fairgate was given room 2805 on the 28th floor of the hotel, and 10:44, Jennifer Fairgate uses the key card for the first time to enter her room 2805 on the 28th floor of the Oslo Plaza Hotel. One employee at the front desk, Sasha Anonsen, has a vague memory or that she saw Jennifer alone at the front desk checking in and receiving her key cards. However, the reception supervisor, Evie Hjertsen, remains in her police statement that she saw Jennifer Fairgate with a man uh, who, according to Evie's statement, had dark hair, was aged between 35 and 40 years old, and was about 185 centimeters tall. This man is presumed to be Lois Fairgate, mentioned in the booking, but no other sightings of the man were made with certainty. And this is where more and more things start to go very wrong very soon. So later that evening, Jennifer Fairgate is seen in the lobby possibly exchanging foreign currency to local currency, the Norwegian kroner. Uh, a few sources say that the currency she was carrying and exchanging to Norwegian kroner was U.S. dollars, but there is some uncertainty regarding this information. It's uncertain at with that what time that was or where she went, but what is known is that the key card was used again at 12:21 a.m. the same night to enter the room. Whether it was Jennifer Fairgate or someone else, no one really knows. The key card is used next time the following morning at 8:34 a.m. Uh, Thursday, June 1st. It's unclear who used this key card uh, at, at this time, but I think it's fair to assume that it was Jennifer who used the key card because there's little to no evidence that to suggest otherwise. Uh, and this was likely after going downstairs for breakfast, but nobody saw her doing so. She leaves the room before the housekeeping staff, room steward Vigdis Valo, and a 19-year-old trainee enter the room three times between 12:44 and 12:50 p.m. to clean the room. The extra duvet that was added the day before hadn't been used, so it was folded away in the cupboard by housekeeping, and the bed was made for one. Vigdis Valle, the housekeeping staff member, notices a very nice pair of vibrant colored shoes. There is also a rolling type suitcase described by housekeeping to be the sort that flight attendants would use, and the observation of these two items in the room will become important later on, so keep that in mind. On Thursday afternoon, someone at the front desk notices something is wrong regarding the payment information and sends a message to the room TV requesting the guest or guests to contact the cashier. Um, these notifications go unacknowledged by the guest until the next day. These messages can be acknowledged and go away only when the OK button is pressed on the TV remote control, but that message is not reacted upon on Thursday. So on Friday, Jennifer Fairgate returns to the room. Friday, the June the 2nd at 8:50 a.m. So she has been out of her room for a minimum of 20 and a maximum of 24 hours. And this is what Lars Christian Wegner from VG calls the day that disappeared, because Jennifer wa- entered the room on Thursday morning at just after 8:30 a.m. and she wasn't there when the housekeeping arrived um, at 11:44 on Thursday morning. So she was gone for at least 20 hours. So for a full she's gone missing from a room for a full day and a full night, a room that costs about 350 euros a night. Quite quite strange. Um, Jennifer or whoever entered at 8:50 uh, and acknowledged the message sent to the room TV about 5 minutes later at 8:55 a.m. Note this is the first message of three messages in total sent to the room TV. Where was she? Where was she for the 20 to 24 hours? For 20 hours, just walking the streets of Oslo all day, all night. Did she meet someone? Did she leave Oslo? The hotel is just a 5 minute walk away from the Oslo main railway station. So she could have easily left Oslo with a train, spent 20 to 24 hours out of town, and do whatever she was set out to do and come back by the next morning. Sometime on Friday morning, uh, Jennifer arrives at the front desk not to settle her payment, but to extend her stay until Sunday, June 4th. For some incomprehensible reason, nobody at the front desk asked her for any form of payment, cash or credit card, or ID, passport, regardless of the message that was sent on Thursday regarding the matter. Her new keycard was used at 11:03. She received two new keycards, and this would have been sometime after she extended her stay at the front desk. And yeah, at this time, I believe she spoke again German with no noticeable accent. And this is the last time at 11:03 um, a.m. on Friday is the last time anyone uses her key cards until the next evening when she is found dead. Um, when heading to her room at around 11 a.m. on Friday, um, she walks by a member of the housekeeping staff stacking her stacking stuff on her cart from a warehouse room, and Jennifer says something akin to "Good morning" in English, and the staff member sees her entering her room, and a few moments later, she hangs the red "Do Not Disturb" sign on the door, and that "Do Not Disturb" sign uh, remains there until Saturday evening when a member of the hotel security staff enters the room and finds her dead. At 8:06 p.m. Friday evening, Jennifer orders food from the hotel room service, bratwurst and potato salad. This food is delivered to the room at 8:23 p.m. by Kristin Andersen, and Kristin receives a very generous tip of 50 Norwegian kroner, which Jennifer has ready in her hand a 50 kroner note. And this would be five times the usual tip. This would be about €8 45 or $9 and 24 cents in today's money. The value of money has changed, inflation and stuff. So usually the tip is 10 kroners, and that would be considered generous. And this is the only time that Jennifer, during her stay, has shown to have money. Uh, this the room looks almost sterile, as if no one has been staying there, according to Anderson. Uh, and this is the second time Jennifer signs her name as Fairgate. And the bed looks like it hasn't been slept and has been untouched since Thursday morning when the housekeeping made the bed for one person, and this is the last time anyone sees Jennifer alive. On Friday at 8:57 p.m., another message is sent from the front desk requesting the guest to contact cashier, or rather, or come to the front desk to settle uh, for some sort of payment, credit card, cash, or something else. And this message is acknowledged a few minutes later at 9:05 p.m. by Jennifer or someone else in the room, but no one shows up to the front desk. Quite frankly, this is not surprising anymore at this point. Um, so, a total of three messages were sent to the room 28:05 via the TV screen. The final and third time was on Saturday. It's uncertain if anyone else stayed in the room, since opening the door from the inside doesn't leave a mark in the keycard log. Only opening the door from the outside with a keycard would leave a mark in or an entrance to the keycard log of the hotel. So, as mentioned, Jennifer Fairgate is not seen alive after Kristin Andersen delivers her delivers Jennifer her food that she ordered from the hotel room service. which would have been bratwurst and potato salad in the room 2805. On the evening of Saturday, June 3rd, just after 7:30 p.m., the reception supervisor, Evie Gjertsen, notices something's very wrong when she was, to my understanding, going through receipts at the front desk. Evie notices that guests staying in room 2805, Jennifer and Lois Fairgate, haven't put in a credit card information and have stayed in the hotel for 3 nights in an expensive room without paying for anything. She then sends another message to the room. After noticing that two messages had already been sent, one on Thursday and one on Friday, but nothing happens, Evie calls housekeeping, where they tell her the room hasn't been cleaned since Thursday morning and the red "Do Not Disturb" sign has been on the door since around 11 a.m. on Friday morning. And at this point, so everything seems to be horribly wrong. But it gets even weirder. The reception supervisor, Evie Gjertsen, then calls the hotel security, and a part-time security guard, Espen Nes, goes up to the 28th floor and reaches the room 2805 at 7 p.m. On Saturday, June 3rd. He knocks on the door, and a second later, he hears a gunshot. He knows there are two people staying in the room, so logically thinking one has been shot and the other in the room is in the room with a gun. Uh, he draws back behind a protrusion on the wall in the corridor and waits for a few minutes. Even though the young security guard has a two-way radio, he doesn't broadcast to the entire staff to avoid possibly causing panic, so he takes the elevator downstairs, heading to the guard station. From then on, the room is unsupervised for 15 minutes when anyone could have come and gone without anyone noticing, which is an important detail at this point. He or well, the security guard Espen Nes informs the chief of security while calling the police, and he asks the police if the guests are dangerous, but police has no record of either Jennifer or Lois Fairgate. At 8:04 p.m., the chief of security arrives at the door of room 2805 and knocks the door on, announcing himself as security. No response, and he knocks again. With no response, he opens the door with his key card, with his special security guard key card, detailed key card. Um, the door was double locked from the inside, and these double locked doors can be opened only with the chief of security key card. The room is dark, only lit by the TV. The window is open. Um, there is an acrid smell, and from the doorway, the chief of security sees Jennifer lying on the bed, silently, not breathing. He then decides not to enter, closes the door, and calls downstairs. The police arrive half an hour later and find Jennifer Fairgate lying on her back on the bed, dead, with a gunshot wound in her forehead. There's significant blood loss. So this is where a lot of the mysteries begin. So there were two shots fired in the room, but nobody heard the second shot. The second shot, only one. One shot went only through the bed, and a pillow was used as a silencer. and that was speculated by the police to be a testing shot. The pillow had been turned around, and now there were two duvets and pillows on the bed. Both seemed to have been used, so it could be deduced that two persons were sleeping in the bed the previous night, even though one pillow and the other duvet were folded neatly into the cupboard by the housekeeping on Thursday morning. The food she ordered from the room service the night before had been only half eaten, and according to the autopsy findings, she had 50 milliliters of undigested food in her stomach. This food was bratwurst and potato salad, so she had it on the table for an almost full day before eating just a half of it. So this amount is based on the amount of leftovers on the plate, the undigested food in her stomach, and the fact that she hadn't been dead for long. So she hadn't eaten the food the previous evening and then been dead for 24 hours. And she had also opened and consumed a bottle of Coca Cola, Diet Coke, and Astina orange drink from the room's minibar, and a bag of crisps that was also found open on the table, and not all crisps were eaten. And only her fingerprints were found in the room, with the exception of one unidentified fingerprint from a plastic bag the hotel uses to deliver newspapers to the rooms. It was a USA Today newspaper, but it hadn't been delivered to Jennifer's room, but to an other room in the same hallway. The gun used was a 9 millimeter Browning high-powered semi-automatic pistol. Uh, Jennifer was found with her hands resting neatly on her chest and the 9 millimeter Browning pistol in her right hand. She was a small woman, about 160 centimeters tall, and weighed about 65 to 66 kilos, or 5 feet 3 inches tall, and weighed 143 to 147 pounds. The gun was in her right hand, the wrong way around, meaning that her thumb was on the trigger and the other hands were on the other side, like shown in the picture on the screen now. The 9 millimeter Browning is the weapon that is very powerful, with a strong recoil or the back kick, and according to experts, the gun should have fallen off of her hand due to recoil when she fired the gun like that, not resting in her hand on her chest. And there was a significant amount of blood on the gun, but not her hands. No blood on her hands. If the suicide theory put forth by Oslo police is to be believed, Jennifer was in the room alone and fired the gun twice, but she had zero gunshot residue and zero blood on her hands. And also, her hand had a very tight grip on the gun. When the crime scene tech removed the gun from her hand, there was a click and the trigger moved back to default position. This kind of firm grip could be produced in most, based on what I know personally, by my training and what I've read. This could be produced in two ways: rigor mortis, or the stiffness that occurs in bodies after death, or something called cadaver spasm. The latter is likely to be the case here because she hadn't been dead for very long. She presumably had been dead only maybe an hour at most, when the gun was removed, and the rigor mortis hadn't really started to set at that point. The 9 millimeter Browning had been fired twice, and there was 7 bullets left in the magazine. So 9 bullets in total had been presumably in the magazine when the shooting started. This is really weird because the 9 millimeter Browning um, has a 13 round magazine, so a maximum of 14 bullets, 13 in the magazine and 1 in the barrel. Though, after consulting someone who's familiar with this type of weapons, I learned that professional users or someone who uses this type of weapon um, often would fill the magazine only to 12 because the gun has a tendency to jam if filled to maximum capacity. So, judging by all known facts, this was a professional user, so one would assume the magazine filling was 12 plus 1, 12 and 1 in the barrel, so in total 13 bullets. Uh, Only 2 were shot, 7 were left. Where did the rest 4 bullets go? And what's interesting is that Jennifer had 25 additional bullets in the attache case that she had in the room. The attache case, which was made by a German luxury brand and in pristine condition, had only 25 bullets, nothing else. It was empty. The 9 by 19 bullets that are typically used in Browning, 9 millimeter Browning, pistols are sometimes sold in packages of 20 and 25 rounds, but commonly sold in packages of 50 unless it's a really hardcore professional like military weapon or used by the military at that time. So in the room, crime scene techs found 34 bullets, of which 2 were used. Even with the best case scenario, if the bullets came 2 packages of 20 or 40 in total, 6 are unaccounted for. However, most likely, what was scenario was that two 25 round packages or one 50 round package was purchased, so 16 uh, rounds are missing. Where the hell are those bullets? The, the serial number of the gun was professionally removed with acid. The Norway's National Criminal Investigation Service, Kripos, was able to retrieve parts of it despite several attempts over the course of over 20 years. The complete serial number was never recovered. Based on the partial serial number recovered from the barrel, the manufacturer came up with the best answer they could with what they were given. It was produced at the Browning factory in Herstal, Belgium in 1990 or 1991. That's it. For a long time, the Oslo police insisted that the entire gun was produced in Herstal, Belgium in 1990 or 1991. But that does not seem to be the case. When you look at the gun, it looks very worn, as if it's being used a lot. Picture here. The paint of the frame and the wood panels on the grip seem to have faded a bit, so which would make be very unlikely if the gun was a maximum of 5 years old and owned by an average Jane Doe who wears luxury clothing and luxury brand accessories and staying in a luxury hotel. Gun experts and collectors have pointed out several reasons why the gun cannot be made as a whole in 1990 or 1991 in Herstal, Belgium. It's not uncommon for professionals like the military, to change worn out parts for newer ones, which is likely the case for example, with the barrel. And the gun experts made a following made following points among others on why the gun cannot be as new as maximum of 5 years old, but is a copy made by Hungarian FEG for military in the Cold War era in 1950s or 60s. The, the Plaza gun doesn't have a single one of the stamps that a real or authentic Browning would have. Uh, Two, the wooden grip plates are painted black. If it was near one, the grip would be made of rubber. This change was made in the 80s. And three, the black finish is more matte than the original, like the ones militaries use, while real Browning would have had a bluish black finish. There are a number of other reasons given by expert collectors as to why the the gun couldn't have been a maximum of 5 years old. You know, the every single part of it. Now, what was and wasn't found in the room? No passports or driver's license, no wallet, no money, no credit card. The only time she is known to have had money was when she tipped 50 kroner to housekeeping when she got the food from room service on Friday evening. No handbag, no keys, not even toiletries or makeup. The rolling type suitcase was gone. The type the rolling type suitcase that housekeeping saw on Thursday morning. Whoever stayed or visited the room during Jennifer's stay was gone. The man seen with her in the lobby when she checked in was gone. Just a bottle of men's cologne was the only sign that a man would have possibly been there. No luggage, only an empty turquoise green Travelite duffel bag, which with which only contents were um, black pantyhose, black silk top, and three blonde-colored bras. The On the baggage shelf is a sleeveless blouse, gray blazer, and a slightly longer trench coat. Jennifer has a gold ring in her right middle finger and a bulky Citizen Aqualand um, diving watch on her left wrist. Picture here. The gold ring was of low carat gold and wouldn't have cost a lot of money, but the watch was very expensive. The same model costs uh, up to 2,000 euros today. That's just over 2,000 US dollars. All the Japanese watchmaker could tell was that the watch in particular was produced in January of 1990, but couldn't say where or when the watch has been sold. Batteries were traced to a Swiss battery manufacturer, but all they could tell was that batteries were manufactured in December of 1994 of a batch that was shipped out to uh, retailers and wholesalers in December of 1994 and January of 1995. That's it. The batteries had a handmade inscription W395, which most likely indicates that the batteries were changed in March of 1995. This is something that only old school watchmakers would do. Strangely, every single tag from her clothes were removed, with the exception of the turquoise green Travelite bag and the grey blazer. The bag is of a German brand and is quite common and not particularly expensive, but the blazer is made by Rene Lizard, a German luxury fashion house, and would cost up to several hundred euros. And the the tags of the Travelite bag and the Rene Lizard blazer were the only tags that were still attached, because removing those tags would have caused significant damage to the product. The black shoes she was wearing were made in Italy. Nothing else could be determined. And the black attaché case containing 25 bullets and possibly the gun had no indication where it was manufactured, but had a tiny metal buffalo logo on it. This was later on determined to be um, for a German luxury leather goods manufacturer, Brown Buffel, and based on what I could find, a similar Brown Buffel attaché case might cost up to 1,500 euros, so it's quite expensive. So even though Jennifer never paid for anything during her stay at the hotel and only once indicated that she had money in form of the 50 kroner tip, she clearly had money at some point, um, because she she had money to purchase all these expensive luxury products like the Brown Buffel attaché case and the Citizen Aqualand diving watch, etc. So she had clearly some money, or at least had at some point. And Jennifer Fairgate also had some very expensive dental work done with porcelain and gold, which would have cost her, as I understand it, quite a pretty penny. This would also narrow down where she's from, since this kind of dental work is expensive and is done in not so many countries, and these is done in countries such as US, Switzerland, Germany, and the Netherlands. So that narrows it down, but not by much. Only other clothing present were Jennifer's clothing that she was wearing when she died: shoes, the black heels, stockings, bra, longish silk undershorts, or some called pajama shorts, and a thigh-length cotton jacket, all black. The vibrant colored shoes and flight attendant type bag on the luggage shelf the housekeeping noticed on Thursday were gone. The senior housekeeping staff member, Vigdis Waller, couldn't recall the brand when questioned by the police later. And what else is missing from the room? Yes, any clothing for the lower body. No panties, no trousers, no skirt, or any other attire for her lower limbs, except the pajama shorts she was wearing when she died. All the other clothing appeared to be clean. Someone had taken a shower, presumably Jennifer, but that's weird. But that's weird because it's a bit weird because she had eyeliner, but no makeup was found in the room. Where were the clothes that she had worn before the shower? It's not clear when someone, whether it be Jennifer or someone else, took shower, but the clothes used she used before the shower apparently weren't in the room. So did she take the missing things somewhere? The clothes, the rolling type bag, toiletries, makeup, the nice shoes the housekeeping noticed. etc., etc. One of the weirdest things in the events of Saturday evening is that no one seems to have seen or heard anything out of the ordinary. Uh, there was a Swiss couple staying in literally the next door in room 2807 who, when interviewed by reporter Lars Wegner, said that they never heard anything unusual. They said they weren't questioned or contacted by the hotel, the Norwegian police, or anyone until over 20 years later, when Lars Wegner knocked on their door. I believe I'm not entirely sure. It didn't become clear to me whether or not Lars Wegner went to their place, or or whether he interviewed them uh, by phone. They don't recall seeing their next door neighbor. The room on the other side of Jennifer's room, 2503, was empty at the time, and the room directly across the hall, 2504, was occupied on the Saturday night by a Belgian businessman who was named Mr. F, who checked out on Saturday morning. Lars Wegner tracked him down. He refused at first. He refused to talk, and said through the door that he's not available. Later, he called Wegner and told the story how the reception staff had asked him if he had heard anything unusual during his stay, reasoning that there had been a murder that hadn't happened yet. Oh, well, it was ruled a suicide by the police, but hey. Uh, when Mr. F was confronted about this, he just said it's all he remembers, and that they were asking about him about it. That's everything he knows, and hung up. Nobody in the other nearby rooms in the hallway saw or heard anything out of the ordinary when they were. That's what they said when they were questioned by police on the spot and by Lars Wegner of VG later on. How how in the blue blaze is this possible? I mean, the security guy heard one gunshot, and it's blatantly obvious that two shots were fired in the room with a powerful military grade handgun. So, who was Jennifer Fairgate? The Oslo police said that they think it was suicide with 99.9% certainty, but given all this evidence, many think it's unlikely. The main argument the police gave is that the door was double locked from the inside, but that's not the entire story. Uh, a, the former head of a Norwegian top secret intelligence group, E14, has revealed that opening this type of electric lock and double locking it from the outside isn't all that difficult for someone who knows what they're doing. See, all such systems have an electric power circuit which can be manipulated without leaving a trace. Well, unless you know exactly what to look for. And removing labels from clothing so meticulously, dumping some of her belongings somewhere else, the gun used, and the way she was found would all point to official involvement. The official that's that means intelligence and secret service agencies, which would include the likes of MI6, CIA, Mossad, and Stasi, KGB, and FSB. And yes, Stasi. Even though this was several years after the unification of Germany, Stasi. Stasi is the secret service of the former East Germany, but it operated several years after the unification of Germany. But the KGB and FSB modus operandi is usually poison, or you some form of poison when they assassinate people. Uh, so this wouldn't exactly fit the KGB or FSB kind of way of going about. Reporter Lars Christian Wegner from the Norwegian newspaper VG went to Belgium to find out more, and he, with an assistance from an interpreter, traveled to Verlaine, the small town Jennifer claimed to be from, to ask around and trying to find out something concrete. And a documentary was made by VG, and that is absolutely worth a watch. In the passenger card, Jennifer Fairgate provides a Belgian phone number and her address as 148 Rue de la Stede, 7968 Verlaine, Belgium. Verlaine is a small town in Wallonia, the French speaking area of Belgium, west of Liège, with current population of around 4,200. The postal code doesn't exist in Belgium, but does in Hungary. This detail may be of some importance, but it may not. Also, the street Rue de la Stede doesn't exist, but that might not be exactly what she wrote on the passenger card because the handwriting is a bit unclear. Also, Stede has a Flemish sound to it, though it doesn't mean anything, and French and Flemish never mix together in Belgium. Uh, but there are no streets in Verlaine starting with STE, but but there are two with STA. These being Rue de la Station and Rue d'Estange. These two streets intersect, and something what Jennifer meant to write on the card is Rue de la Station, but addresses in Rue de la Station end in 100, and she wrote 148 in the passenger card. The phone number given was with an area code of 068. That is not the area code for Belgium for Berlin, but somewhere else in Wallonia. The phone number doesn't exist in the air with the area code in Verlaine, but does in two other area codes in Wallonia. Owners of these two numbers did not recognize Jennifer's name, which we already know to be bogus, nor did they recognize her the drawings of Jennifer. So Jennifer Fairgate clearly had some knowledge of Belgium because she was familiar. For example, she was familiar with the postal code structure and the phone number structure. So it was clear that she had some knowledge of Belgium, of some local knowledge of Wallonia region of Belgium. She claimed to be 21 years old when she checked into the Plaza Hotel, but the autopsy findings indicated that she was older than that, around 30 years old, give or take 5 years. The only blood work that was done from her blood during autopsy only tested for alcohol, and she was not under influence. But no other tests were done. No drugs, no poison. None of that was tested from her blood. No tissue samples were taken. No DNA samples. All the evidence, including the little belongings she had in the room, were destroyed a year later. Her watch and ring were sold at auction, which is quite distasteful, I think. and the gun was ordered to be destroyed, but it was preserved uh, and found years later. It was preserved for teaching purposes as an example of a gun which had its serial number professionally removed. Basically, all the evidence was destroyed and never analyzed properly. She was exhumed in 2016 and had DNA samples taken, and her teeth were analyzed. It turned out she was most likely born in 1971, making her 21 at the time of death. There was a 1.1 year error margin, so she could have been born in 1970 or 1972, but with 1971 being the most likely. This was done based on C14 analysis of the enamel of her teeth. The rate and amount in the atmosphere were high after nuclear bomb testing in 1950s and 60s and went down at a predictable rate and in different regions. Based on other testing, this this testing and other similar testing, it was determined that she was of a non-Swedish European descent, likely from East Germany, meaning the area of former East Germany, the German Democratic Republic. The woman calling herself Jennifer Fairgate has never been identified, and apparently no one has reported her missing. Uh, but the missing persons report, if there was one, may have been lost. Some of you may have heard of Marc Dutroux. He was the or is the worst pedo in European history. He kidnapped and murdered several girls. The last two Dutroux victims who actually survived were abducted very near to Verlaine, the town Jennifer claimed to be from, and these the last two victims were abducted just 3 months before Jennifer died. Before before the before Dutroux case, um, missing persons reports weren't handled properly, and in many parts of Europe, and lots of uh, missing persons reports were buried in piles of paper and never handled at all, or very were handled very poorly in many European countries, and this obviously changed drastically after the Dutroux case. And one theory would be that she was reported missing, but the report was lost. Yet the fact that Jennifer Fairgate still hasn't been identified, uh, her DNA or fingerprints have never come up with any matches from Interpol or any local law enforcement agencies. No, no friends or family has ever come forward. Uh, there were some rumors that claimed she was the missing Danish woman Camilla Steina, but who went missing in the 80s, but that is not the case, and it should be blatantly obvious to everyone who has seen the drawings of her and the face pictures taken of her during the autopsy. Her story was ran with pictures in the 90s and then again in the 2000 several times in the 2000s by Norwegian newspaper VG in the decades after, and by uh, the German magazine Bild with 10 million daily readers, yet no one has come forward to identify her. She must have had family friends, partners, lovers somewhere, but yet not a single person has come forward, despite the extensive international coverage in VG, in Build, etc., and and online with blogs, vlogs, documentaries, YouTube videos, and so forth. Not and nothing has come up in international databases of fingerprints and DNA. This is really, really sad. So, as I said in the beginning, I reached out to the Oslo Police Department, or the police district, I believe they call it. So, and I also reached out to the VG reporter Lars Christian Wegner. However, I did not get a response from the Oslo Police District. None at all. Zero, zero. There was just an automatic reply, like, thank you for sending us an email. We'll handle these emails then and then. But I think they won't respond to me because reasons. And the VG reporter responded to me actually, but that was very brief. He said that you probably won't get anything from the police because reasons, police documents, yada yada yada. And he said I couldn't get really real answers from her, sorry, from him. But he did confirm that there is no confirmed that there is no confirmation regarding Jennifer's accent when she spoke German, because there are rumors that she had an Eastern dialect, Eastern accent, but the Lars Wegner, who has done the most extensive research on this case that there is on this planet, said that, quote, she spoke German. I don't think we will be able to get any closer than that, end quote. This is what I got from, that's what the reporter said. So that's probably something that we'll have to live with, because the gun, the 9mm Browning, was apparently for the most part a um, Hungarian knockoff, uh, a copy, and because the postal code, while did not exist in Belgium, it did match the Belgian postal code structure, but that particular code did not exist in Belgium, but it does in Hungary. So there's a Hungarian knockoff gun and a Hungarian postal code, but Lars Wegner confirmed that that Hungary was not part of the that that lead was not followed up on in the official investigation, nor was it ever followed up on in his writing. So we will never know. Most likely, we'll never know if Jennifer Fairgate had any connection to Hungary. We'll never know, probably. Now, this was a massively long video. It's well over an hour at this point. At this point in time, uh, I'm eternally grateful if you made it this far. Um, and if you have made it this far, please leave me a like, subscribe, and tickle the notification bell to get notifications for my future content. Now there will be an after show of this has gone out. It will be a live after show, uh, because I want to decompress, for everyone, and explain certain things that I and certain choices that I made while recording this video. Because this was so long, it took me the entire process of making this took me almost 2 weeks to prepare. Well, week and a half. On and off writing and looking things up online. So please like, subscribe, tickle the notification bell, and check the link. There's PayPal, Patreon, Discord, and so forth, and playlist links down below. Thank you, and bye bye.